So welcome everyone. This is a webinar to help you guys crack your ML interviews or data science interviews. Um, I'll start with my introduction, then Vaishali can take over. I'm a data scientist, also a teacher. I've been teaching since the past 2-3 years. That's the same time I've been data scientist for, and I've worked in the finance and the mental health sector. By education, I'm a civil engineer, and that's about it. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Okay. Uh, yeah, Vaishali, please.
So first of all, thanks Aishit for hosting this, and thanks everyone again for joining on Friday. My name is Vaishali. I have been in data science for about 6 years now. I have built data science team. I was a data analyst earlier. I had a transition from data analyst to data science, and I have a master's in statistics. And I also have provided link to my LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out in case of any questions, or if you're in the job search, or if you just got out of college, feel free to reach out if you need any kind of help. Today we will talk about different things. We'll talk about, what are the different industries that you should start on, what kind of projects that you should do to stand out in the market, and how to navigate, right, when you're trying to prepare for interviews. If you are working or if you just right out of college, what kind of things that you should do and what kind of things that you should be aware of is something that we're going to talk about today. Can we move to the next slide, please? And I do see some repeated faces, so happy to see you all. Okay. So the first topic is understand the industry, right? So I know most of the people would want to get into tech or big tech, but there are so many industries that you should start your career in if you want to break into data, right? So how do you understand this industry? Right now, I'm just giving a few examples like tech, finance, travel, healthcare, right? But how would you start the research? So you have to pick the number of companies and see, go to their website and see what kind of product that they offer, what kind of services that they offer. You can also read the financials if it's not too much for you to understand what kind of business challenges they have. For anyone to hire you as an analyst or a data scientist or an engineer, you have to demonstrate what kind of business value that you will bring along with your technical skills or along with your soft skills, right? So for you, it's very important to understand the business and understand the challenges that they're facing currently. Who are their competitors, right? How they function. So you have to have a basic understanding of their products, and then you can demonstrate your skills. So do not just focus on big tech. Like when I started out, I started with a government organization where I was a research officer and I was leading like 50 people. So I was not utilizing my technical knowledge much, but I have gained management experience there. So you can slowly start from one place and then you can gradually grow into different fields, right? So then I moved into data analyst and then I got into data science eventually. So please do the research on different industry and not just tech. For example, finance. Finance is a very good industry. You have like a lot of bank doing a lot of creditors analysis, customer lifetime value, churn prediction. So there are a lot of there's a lot of opportunity out there if you understand the proper industry, right? So please do the research and start your journey. Can you move to the next slide, please?
One question, like, can you also brief everyone like about what all industries have you been a part of, and how are their prospects?
Yeah. Yes. So I have been part of government, fintech, and then big tech. Uh, how it varies from one to another is totally how do I say? So government, as you know, in India is very slow process, right? So to do anything, you have to then go through multiple approvals to get things going, right? Versus big tech or fintech, it's pretty quick. So you have multiple ideas, and then you can discuss it with your peers, you can discuss it with your manager, and then get things going. So that way it's pretty different. Also, the reporting and the tools are different. So in tech or big tech, there is a leverage of data visualization like Tableau, etc. I'm not sure if government employees they are using those kind of tools. So it's pretty much just email or Excel and R, which are like open source. So I think those kind of things would vary when it comes to industry. But on the higher level and the lower level, things would be the same. So you're solving a problem. If you're in government, you are still solving a problem if you're in tech. Just the level is different.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah. And
so
are you trying to give me the access so that I can move?
no.
Okay, cool. Yeah. What kind of projects you should do? So that's a very interesting topic, and that kind of question comes to me very often. So what I'll do is all of those who have joined this call, I'm going to send you a list of projects that you should do to start with. Now, what kind of project you should do is also very important. So I've seen recently that people usually pick up topics which are very easily available in the market. For example, house price prediction. Every second resume that I see from a fresher is doing a house price prediction. Likewise, trend prediction using cards, right? So these are very common projects that I have seen over the years that freshers are using for their portfolio. So I would highly recommend to go to different sources, like if we have open source, we have Kaggle data, we have Tableau Public, right? If you want to get into data engineering or BIE, then we have Apache, we have DBT Labs. Everything is open source and everything is free. So you can definitely do a little bit better in terms of projects using all those free resources. And I will provide you the guide of all the free resources and what kind of projects you should do to stand out in the market. So for example, if I have to start out, what I will do is I will pick up a subject which is of my interest, for example, music, right? So how music genres have trend over the years and how their popularity has changed over the years, and how current customer is observing music, and what kind of how we can leverage the market to sell the product. So those kind of things I would do in terms of project if I want to do it right now. Another thing that I'm coming up, another question that comes to me very frequently is that I only have 2 weeks for my interview. What kind of projects should I do? And it's very difficult, right? Because in 2 weeks you can only do like a high level superficial project, but if you really want to demonstrate your skills and your knowledge, then you have to put efforts, and like it will take like 2 to 3 months to build a very good project. I was talking to one of the data engineering leader during one of my session, and he mentioned that he built an app that got him into Facebook, but it took him a year to build that app, and he had like customers and everything for that app. So please understand this. There are so many people out there who are putting their efforts and they're giving more than 100%, because they're passionate about it. So you have to go, above and beyond when it comes to project and when it comes to demonstrate your skills. Of course, if you're experienced, like if you have 2 to 3 years experience, then the things would be different, right? Because you can demonstrate your experience and you can demonstrate what kind of problem that you have solved in your business. So that's a different thing. But if you're starting out, then you have to, sadly, you have to put in a lot of effort in the current market in order to, get an entry level data job. So yes, we will provide you the link and the resources, which are all free and absolutely available for you. But yes, you have to do the due diligence to build that project. Any question on that, Aishit? What do you think about it?
yeah, one perspective from you I would like is like, what do you think about end-to-end projects versus
Mm.
projects which just start with a Jupyter notebook and end in the same notebook?
That's a very interesting question, right? So just to make sure that I've understood that problem, building end-to-end versus just a notebook, right? So it varies, right? It also depends on what kind of company that you're interviewing for. For example, if you're interviewing for a startup, they would like you to see what kind of end-to-end you're doing, right? Versus big tech, entry level, they will ask like medium to hard level SQL question, etc. So their interview process is totally different from other companies, right? So it would totally vary from what kind of company that you're targeting. For any entry level, if you're starting out, I would recommend to start with startup or medium-sized company and not just focus on like big tech or for consultancies. I think that would be really helpful if you're just starting out.
Got it.
I
And
hope that answers your questions. Do you have
yes,
any
yes.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think I agree. If you are at the entry level, doing an end-to-end project might be too overwhelming, right? So like I think start where you can, do with what you have, right? Do
Mm.
basically try to leverage all the skills that you already have and try like keep learning newer skills, right? If you already know how to train a machine learning model, then try to learn about deployment. If you already know how to make a Streamlit app, try to learn about a cloud provider, right? Maybe AWS, right? If you already know some services in AWS, try to integrate some more services, right? So keep learning more, keep integrating more things in your project, keep talking about it on LinkedIn, and keep putting it on GitHub. That's how you uh, go about it.
Yeah, that's an interesting take on that, and I totally agree with that. But
I
yeah,
have,
please
yeah.
start and please build a good project, which will have like end to end and not just common project that everybody's doing these days.
Another question I have is, should a person who is looking to get into the industry, maybe he's a fresher right out of college, or whether they might have some like a few years of experience in some other industry, maybe as a software engineer, or maybe from a non-tech industry. Uh,
Mhm.
should they first pick a domain or pick an industry like finance
Mm.
or e-commerce and then do a relevant project, or should they just start anywhere and hope to get a like, nice job?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think they should just start, right? Picking an industry is also very helpful when you are interviewing, right? So when you're interviewing, how do you stand out? You stand out by asking curious questions. You stand out by asking questions about their business, right? And to ask those kind of questions, you have to understand the business first, and that's why you have to pick the industry first, right? But when it comes to projects, you can build any projects and you can demonstrate your skills. Yes, it will be helpful if I am interviewing for a finance company and I have a project build up which is related to finance. Then it becomes easier for me to explain, and it becomes easier for the interviewer to take interest. But if you're just starting out, if you're stuck and you don't know what to do, then just start out with any project, and then you can build different projects from the different industry. You can also iterate your resume accordingly, right? So when I started out, I had like four resumes ready for all the different industry with different projects, so that I don't miss out on any opportunity. But yeah, I understand that not everybody is putting that much of effort. So it's difficult, but yeah, if you want to like get into it, then you have to put in some effort.
Got it. Siddharth has a question. Do you want to take this question right now or after the slides?
Yeah. I think we can finish the slides first, and then we
Yeah, sure.
can answer all the questions later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next slide is interview round for data science, right? So interview for any company is more or less on the same page now that we are in this age. So it would first start with the recruiter discussion on what you have studied, what kind of education that you have, the details of your education, right? And then what kind of experience you have. So a lot of time what happens is if you're trying to get into the same kind of thing, if I was into fintech earlier and then I wanted to get into big tech, right? So I had to iterate my answer accordingly to the team, right? So you have to understand the job description and which team you're interviewing for, and then you have to iterate your answer when you are talking to the recruiter. So when I was into fintech and I was wearing multiple hats as a product data scientist, so I was into planning and automation, I was into experimentation, I was into team building, I was into utilizing data science methods to solve business problems. But when I wanted to get into big tech, I knew that this is a particular team and they majorly do long-term planning or strategic planning. So when I'm talking to the recruiter, I am only like trying to demonstrate those skills first, because I know that the team is totally focusing on that part. So you have to iterate your answer accordingly, and more or less the same. after the recruiter round, you will have a manager round or a tech round, right? Technical screening, wherein they will ask standard SQL, Python questions, and then it will be a mix of behavioral question. A guesstimate could be asked, and then you have a final five loop round again, in which you have a case study. You have again behavior. You have proper data related two rounds, and then you have two rounds with technical. So it's more or less the same. 4 5 rounds are final rounds. If you are into big tech, then they also have a bar raiser round. I'm not sure if everybody is aware of it, but the bar raiser round is again for you to explain how you can handle the complicated situation and what kind of difficult situation that you have been in, apart from solving the problems. So that's also on the interesting round that I absolutely love. And for startup, it's more or less the same. And yeah, so when it comes to interviews for data science, it will be majorly demonstrating your technical skills, your projects, apart from your soft skills and your, managerial skills or your management skills. So yeah, mixture of technical skills and soft skills.
Yeah, makes sense. Can you elaborate a bit more about the barriers around maybe for the people?
Yeah. So bar is around. I don't think it's for every company, but if you are doing a big tech, then they definitely have a bar is around. For example, in Google they have a Googliness round, right? So it's nothing but to evaluate you further. So they will try to question or cross question every answer that you give as if you don't know anything. So it's like really, raising the bar in terms of question, and you also have to raise a bar from your side when you are answering those questions. So the bar is around is nothing but providing a precise answer, even though there is a difficult question. So you have to be ready for those kind of difficult questions, right? Apart from the normal project portfolio that you have to discuss the challenge that you face. What would you do if you wouldn't have selected a certain variables or certain metrics? Or how would you evaluate a particular business decision, right? How would you come up with a business decision? How would you resolve problems with your colleagues or your manager? So those kind of questions is majorly asked in the bar raiser round. And yeah, bar raiser has a lot of say to it, when it comes to hiring.
Got it. I think I know a bit about the Microsoft interviews.
Mhm,
At Microsoft, you have about 4 rounds. This was for machine learning engineer role, and
mhm,
the first 2 rounds are DSA. The third round is machine learning system design, and the fourth round is, I think, sort of a bar is a round that you told
mhm,
about. Uh,
mhm.
I think they called it an AA interview. I'm forgetting the full form, but do you remember it? AA. What is AA?
I don't know what
Okay.
AA is. I have not like interviewed
Yeah,
for Microsoft, but I was talking in general that they
yeah,
have different names for different companies, right? For example, Google for Googliness. I don't know
correct.
what it is called for Amazon, but they have this bars around for every company,
Yeah,
especially big tech. Yeah.
yeah. So this round is usually with a very senior person, uh, probably a person who manages maybe like 20 people, 50 people under him. And
Hmm.
yeah, so um, yeah, correct. Yeah, Shreya told us as appropriate, correct. It's an as appropriate round, and it's actually like as they deem appropriate, right? So if
Hmm.
anything can be asked in it. Um, Usually for MLE, you like they wouldn't just go into the machine learning fundamentals. Uh, the guy would even go to like very core computer science, even at the OS level or the networking side, right? So anything and everything which they are interested in, right? So
Hmm.
doesn't depend on the candidate.
Yeah. And you also have to be very careful with your answers, right? So majorly it would start with tell me about your most impactful project. So you have to be very precise with your answer. They will cross question you on follow up, right? So you have to be very precise and be ready for that round. So it's not very difficult, I would say, if you have enough experience. But yeah, it's an interesting round to clear.
Yes. Later, I would also like you to cover a bit more on the product data science side because I think that is
Mhm.
very underexplored. But let's finish the slides first.
Sure. Yeah, let's try to finish it as soon as possible so that we can have more time for. I think this is the last slide, right? Okay.
Yeah,
So interview tips. I have multiple things to talk about, but what worked for me when I was interviewing for Amazon was one, mock interviews or mock rounds. So I was able to find a mentor who has helped me, with my mock rounds. So he would ask me questions and he would provide me feedback on how to improve my answer, how to give structural answer. So that really works. Another thing is if you are trying to gain the technical ability, then solve lead code or set aside questions. I have solved all 300 lead code questions when I was interviewing just because I'm not from the tech background. So I am from non-tech, right? And just doing a master in statistics doesn't help you learn SQL or Python. So I had to learn it on my job. And then if you're learning that way, you are not covering all the topics. Again, what you have learned and what you have worked, not necessarily you are using all the topics, right? So for interview, it's a different game altogether. They evaluate you on how you structure your response. They evaluate you on how your speed is, if you're able to solve it within like 1 or 2 minutes, or you have to take some time and get some help from the interviewer. So sometimes the interviewer is helpful. They just give you hints, and but sometimes it's just really tricky. So yeah, make sure that you are working on those things. For example, if I talk about DoorDash, right, I think they have 4 questions that you have to finish in 15 to 20 minutes, like 4 medium to hard level SQL questions. So during those time, it becomes very important to be efficient, right, with your skills. So please practice SQL strategies and gain technical ability, and also do mock round to have a structural response. Yeah, I think that those are the 2 things that I want to mention when you talk about interview tips.
yeah, I think mock interviews are the holy grail. Um, that's like a practice test, right? So if you're taking an exam, you have to take a lot of practice tests. So mock interviews are the practice tests, and it's even better if you get a mentor from the same background that you are trying to get into. Like if you're trying to get into finance, like it's better if you get a finance mentor. But like again, like uh, you won't always have a choice to choose, like to choose for it, but yeah, it's preferable. So because the domain knowledge is as important as the technical knowledge after a certain point. Like if you're on the entry level,
Hmm.
then probably domain knowledge will not matter that much. Um, but yeah, even like if you have even 2 years experience, then domain knowledge starts to come in.
Yes. I want to tell you something on this. Yeah. If you're not able to find a mentor, right, talk to your friends and ask them to take your interviews, right? So that's also another thing is you leverage, like create a group, try to reach out to people on LinkedIn who are on entry level, who are trying to do a job search, and then create a strategy with them that hey, let's have a three month plan that we will solve all this question in 3 months. We will do mock rounds on the weekends, so like 1 or 2 rounds on the weekend. So just start. Do not wait to find a right mentor. In my case, I was able to find a right mentor, but I don't think everyone, that's not relatable to everyone. So I think please talk to people. Even if it's your friends and you're doing a group session, please do that.
That's what we used to do back in college as well. Like
Mm,
when we were preparing for like placement interviews, college placements.
mm,
Like the whole hostel, like whatever groups you are in, like they would all take mock interviews of each other. And the if someone is in the video. Okay. So the protocol was like this. So first, like prepare a nice resume, right? So we'll talk about resume as well, but after the slides. Uh,
mm,
After you have a resume, then the way that we used to take the mock interviews was at every single line of the resume, just or every single word of the resume, just ask all the questions that are possible. Why, what,
mm,
who, where, right? So whichever questions are possible, just ask that. For instance, if let's say in your resume you have mentioned a project or maybe a machine learning project, and maybe the first line says developed an XGBoost model with maybe 90% F1 score to predict so and so, whatever you're doing. Uh, so if this is your first line, then start questioning every single word. So you start with XGBoost, right? So first thing the interviewer can ask you about is XGBoost itself, right? So even if you have mentioned a single word, you should know everything about it. So know all the internals of the models that you are building, know about why that model and why not any other model, right? So know about pros and cons of every model. Okay. Uh, then the next word maybe is the F1 score. Know about what is
Hmm.
F1 score. If you know about F1 score, then you will definitely be asked about precision and recall, right? So just go into depth of each and every word, ask every question. That's how we used to take the mock interviews, and that's how you prepare resume as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good answer. I totally agree with that. Yeah, I do not have anything else to talk about when it comes to interview tips, right? Just do give mock rounds as much as possible, brush on up your skills, brush on up your structural responses, right? A lot of time what happens is when you get a feedback, then you understand that, okay, I thought that my approach is correct, but it can be better. So that happens only when you get feedback. So it can be your friends, your mentor, industry people, right? There's so many people who are doing this free sessions, like 15-minute or 20-minute free session. So instead of going with, how can I improve my resume, go with the question and your answer and say, hey, this is how I'm going to give, answer in my interview. Do you think it's the right way to answer? So try to meet people like that, and then I think you should be able to be better at interviews.
Also, one aspect that is a bit underrated is the story aspect. Have a
Hmm.
story ready for each and everything in your resume.
Hmm.
Interviewers are humans, and humans like stories.
Hmm.
So if you just present some facts, that won't uh, get that much attention, or that won't interviewer won't like your answer that much compared to a story answer.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I talk about structure, I'm talking about essentially the STAR method, right? So you have your situation, you explain the task, you explain your analysis, and you explain your result. So when I talk about result, it's nothing but impact. So you can have like 4 to 5 lines ready for any project if you are, an experienced person, and then you can ask the question, okay, do you want me to deep dive into a particular thing? So maybe the interviewer would deep dive into analytics part. They will ask you the problem part, right? Why this problem? Why they have assigned you this task? What kind of other problem that you have solved in this particular product? So they may ask you few things on the problem and few things on your solution. So I think it's very important for you to pick up a project or a experience, right, based on that, and be ready with that format and just practice that format.
Yeah, the star format is a really great way
Mhm.
to structure answers. Even your resume points as well.
Yes.
All right. I
Yes.
guess that's it for the slides.
Mhm.
We'll cover a few topics that we left out, and then we'll get to the questions. I
Hmm.
think we have 3, 4 questions now, so
Mhm.
please wait for this. All right. Yeah, Pranav, you want to say something before we cover the remaining topics?
I should have to let
Yeah,
him speak, like unmute him.
unmute first. Yeah,
I have few questions. I think I will ask later.
sure, sure.
Okay.
All right. You can mute yourself back. Yeah. All right. So one of the topics that I wanted to get into was the product data science side. How is
Hmm.
product data science different from any other type of data science? What all
Hmm.
is required to get into that? What all are the basic elements of it?
Yes. So yes, there are two type of data scientists in the market, right? One is product data scientist, which is me. Um, when you are a product data scientist, you're essentially working on multiple products or one particular product, and you're trying to improve product, right? So a lot of experimentation, for example, introducing new features, evaluating different variants, doing experimentation like A/B testing, multivariate testing, right? Applying causal inference methods like difference and differences, synthetic analysis. So it's majorly using data science methods, various data science and statistical methods to improve that particular product. So it's all go back to the customers, right? So for each product, you will have customers associated with it. You may have like monthly active users, daily active users, retention rate, etc. Right? So that only happens, or it can be consistent if the product is good and people love that product, right? So improving the product, improving the customer, essentially you are improving the revenue. So you're working on your analytical metrics like clicks, sessions, conversion rate, which will again then impact the business metric, right? Revenue and profit. So essentially it's that you are using all the data science methods like regression and time series to do forecasting and, long-term, short-term planning. You're using clustering to do like market segmentation and analytics. So just essentially utilize, not deploying the models, but just utilizing all the data science method to solve a business problem, if I want to sum it up. Versus typical machine learning or machine learning scientists would be deploying models, right, for customer lifetime value or churn prediction model. So yeah, that's the difference between the product data science and machine learning scientist.
Got it. So as a product data scientist, you would do a lot of hypothesis testing, right? Or A/B testing.
Yes,
Can
yes.
you tell us like maybe an example from your work or like any general example?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so general example is, for example, I want to see, so say, for example, that there is a landing page, right? And you have multiple products associated with that landing page. And I want to see if I change a particular thing or if I move products, then it will impact my conversion rate, right? So that is my hypothesis. If I want to test it, then what I will do is I will just do an A/B testing experiment or multivariate testing experiment to make sure that whatever I'm thinking is correct or not, right? So you evaluate based on the product, you evaluate based on particular metric. So you have your high level metric in place. In this case, it's conversion rate, right? So improving conversion rate would essentially increase or improve the revenue over the time. So what kind of conversion rate that I have? So you have a design of experiment ready before you run the hypothesis and before you run the experiment. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, got it. Another thing to discuss was the resume, right? So what differentiates a good resume from a bad one?
So again, it varies, right? For me, I have a different opinion when it comes to resume. So I know the standard practice is a one-page resume, and everyone should follow that. But if you're an experienced, say, for example, I have 5 years of experience, it will be 6 years now, right? So for me to put everything on one page would be different. So when I was interviewing for Amazon, I have put two-page resume and I was accepted, right, for that part. So it totally depends, but if I want to do it again, I may shift to one-page resume again, because now I don't think that, I don't need to put so much information on the resume. I can only highlight the important projects on my resume and then keep the other projects as a document with me in case they ask me anything. So I still have the records. I'm not just showing all the projects on the resume. So I think standard one-page resume is very important. If you're experienced, you have a summary of your experience first, and then you have your experience details, right? On the right side, you have your duration and time. On the left side, you have your title, designation, and the company details. A lot of time what happens is people do put up a lot of company details. I usually avoid it. If I want to start with the first sentence, I would highlight my skill. For example, my career highlight would be scaling revenue from 2 million to 10 million. So I will write that first before I talk about my different experience, right? Or another highlight would be building teams. So I have built like 3 data science teams. So I would put that first if I'm, interviewing for a strategy lead kind of a role. So it totally depends upon the role, but I would definitely highlight one or two things after the company, and then I put my experience details. And at the end, you have your education and you have your skills before that. So yeah, summary, experience, skills, and then education. Again, with education, I know a lot of time people put a lot of details. I think it's not necessary unless you're starting out. So I have not put my percentage or any other GPA details. I have just put the year of my graduation and my master's. But it's different for entry level and it's a different for fresher. So if you're a fresher, what you will do is you will put your education first because that's a highlight of your career, right? So you will put your education first and then you will put all the projects accordingly. So again, when it comes to projects, what you can do is you can try to put the metric and the quantification first. For example, build a dashboard to improve conversion rate by so and so percentage, right? So improved conversion rate by 2% using automation of so and so tools. So I think those kind of things is very helpful when you are trying to build a good resume.
Makes sense. Also, one question I think which most of the people have while creating the first resume or even like later resume is how much does the format matter? Like, how do you pick a format?
Yeah. So if you go online, right, there are a lot of templates available, and I know there are a lot of colorful templates available. I would suggest to avoid that and have a simple oh, plain, white background resume because it's just easier to read, right? You don't want to complicate things for the interviewer and the recruiter. So I think a simple resume is something that I would say to go to.
Got it. We have a few questions which people sent us
Sure.
in advance.
Let's see. Oh, okay, no, advance. Okay, yeah, sure. We also have two people raising in their hands. Do you want to address that first if they want to
Yeah,
drop off?
sure.
It's too late for them. Yeah.
So we'll start with Pranav then because he was the first. Hi, Pranav.
Hey,
Hi,
Pranav.
hi, Vaishali.
Hi. Hi.
As I'm talking with respect to freshers' point of view, what are the key skills that fresher must learn? Like you told, SQL and Python. Is it something other skills should we look upon especially as a fresher when interviewing?
Yeah, so I mentioned understanding business first before you demonstrate your technical skills, right? So understand the business first, see what kind of problem that particular company is having that you have a target, to join to, and then demonstrate your projects in terms of this is a problem that I've seen your company faces frequently, and this is how I can bring my, SQL skill or my visualization skills. So yeah, apart from that, I think soft skills is very important. So having a structural response and doing mock rounds would be very helpful. I hope that answers your questions. Feel free to ask me follow-up question if you have any.
Yeah. So, with
Yeah.
respect to project, you told for startups and medium level companies, we need end-to-end
Mm,
project. But especially
mm,
when I'm creating a project on my own, creating a problem statement and coming up with the own solution, I may not create a project which is end-to-end, or I maybe end up in having a Jupyter notebook.
mm,
So is it okay to post such projects? And also, if I'm doing an end-to-end project, most probably it would be a guided project. So is it
mm.
okay to show a guided project while to a recruiter?
Yeah, the first would be, if you have end-to-end project, then it's better. The only thing that I'm talking about is don't do the projects which is just everybody is doing, right? So if you see common projects that everybody is doing, try to avoid that and build something that is different, build something that is unique, right? And if it's difficult to build end to end, then definitely you can start with Jupyter and then you can discuss that, hey, this is just I'm just starting out with this project, but I do have plans in place and I'm going to have a mentor and then we're going to build a particular project on so and so things. So I think yes, if you're stuck, I would say just start. And again, I mentioned right that there are so many people out there who are doing free consultation, so you can just sign up with them and talk to them, right? For example, if I wanted to get into Amazon, I spoke to like 20 people from Amazon before I start my preparation, just to understand what kind of problem that they're facing. So it's easier for me to build projects accordingly, right? So that's something that you can also do. Just that it will take a lot of time because reaching out to people, talking to them, that's again a different effort altogether, and it takes time. So you can have a deadline, right? You can have like 1 month just to discuss with people and then understand the objective and have different perspective. And then during that process, you can also think about different project that you should build around the time. And likewise, you can also build relationship when you are trying to reach out to people. For example, you have joined the second session with me, right? So for me, it's easier if you message me, it will be easier for me to answer your question versus other 100 questions that I get on the daily basis. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
And how do you manage time? You working and conducting such sessions. So particularly while I'm structuring my time, so I struggle in. I have, let's say I want to solve 10 SQL questions today. I maybe end
Mm.
up solving 5 or 6. So how do I
Mm.
manage time and make that effective deadline?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and that's something that I think everybody has struggled, and I have struggled the most as well, especially coming from non-tech. So what I used to do is earlier I would take up an easy question and spend 15-20 minutes and not be able to like solve it. Then I changed my approach. So what I do now is I read the question. I only spend 2 minutes per question to solve it. So if I'm able to solve it within 2 to 3 minutes, then it's fine. I do not spend more than 2 minutes on that particular question. Then what I do is I go to the solution and I look for different solution that people have put in, and then I try to understand the solution, not mug up, understand the structure and the approach, right? So you can solve answer using top 10, or you can solve answer using Windows function and joins. So you see different approaches, and then I have a document ready with all 300 question and the different approaches, like different ways to solve a question. But that is only possible because I went and did this exercise. So that's again you can do is not spend 15-20 minutes on one particular question and try to solve it within 2 minutes. If you're not able to solve it in 2 to 3 minutes, then I don't think that you will be able to solve it in like 10 minutes also. But that's what I think, right? Different people have different approaches. I'm talking about the approach that worked for me. So after the 2 minutes, I just look at the solution and see different approaches, and I try to understand approaches, and then I try to solve a problem. So say for one day, and I don't put a lot of questions for a day. So I only have like 1 hour dedicated to SQL. And then I solve like 4 questions a day, right? Likewise, I would do 4 questions in next day. So I have at least 10 questions in a week, and then at the end of the week on the weekend, I try to solve it by myself without looking at the solution. And I think that has worked for me so far because I understand the concepts, and then I also understand the question. Once you start doing that, you will understand the different way they are asking question, but the solution is the same. But that will come with practice. So I think I would definitely suggest to do this thing. And I can also take up another session on this particular thing on how to utilize your time and how to manage effectively and how to learn effectively without wasting so much time. So yes, that's what I do. And your first question is how do I manage these things? I have a dedicated timeline and a particular schedule, right? So say for example, if I'm working from 7 to 6, right? More morning is usually when I do hands down work, so I don't entertain with meetings and all that. And then after lunch, I would discuss stuff with my team and see if they are stuck somewhere and I help them. And then in the evening, I have my own thing going on, my learning and everything. So I think that's again how we can do it. If I'm a student, what I'll do is I'll have my classes from 9 to 5, right? So I'll have a 1 hour break in between, and then I'll start like 6 to 7. I'll have my SQL. So no using phones, no talking to other friends, no talking to my family, nothing. I only focus that particular 6 to 7 for my SQL, and then I'll have my dinner, and then I'll again go to 6. So the reason that I do it like that is because it depends on what kind of skills you want to learn. For example, for me, statistics is very easy because I love it. So I don't need to revise my stats concepts, right? But I have to revise a lot on SQL. So I put a lot of time and effort in SQL. So you have to also understand your strengths and weaknesses, and then you allocate your time accordingly. So if you're not very good at statistics, then I would say you have like 3 to 4 hours a week apart from your college on stats, and then you have a weekend for your tech skills, right? So that's how you manage your time. But yeah, don't waste a lot of time on just solving lead code question, because then you will be in the loop, and then it's hard to get out. So yeah, just have a dedicated 1 hour, 5 questions, and then solve it. I hope that answers your question.
Got it.
I'll
Yeah,
give,
yeah, it
I'll
was
just add.
detailed and I got a lot of clarity now.
Yeah, I think most people usually face that thing, and I have faced that too. But this worked for me so far. Aishit, do you want to
Definitely.
say something on
Yeah,
this?
I'll just add
Yeah.
my
Thank you.
perspective.
Thank you so much, Vaishali.
Yeah. So about the thing, right? The end-to-end versus notebook projects, right? Uh, Again, like as Vaishali said, like end-to-end projects are better. The thing is, like, doesn't the only thing that matters is, are you able to stand out, right? In a pool of 100 or 1,000 applicants, right? Um, the standing out can be via end-to-end projects. It can be via something exceptional, right? Let's say just list down what all skills do you think are needed for this particular role. Okay, so it can be SQL, Python. If it's an analyst role, maybe Power BI. Um, then maybe machine learning, deep learning, NLP, um, cloud, right? So whatever skills you think are needed for this role, and you can pick this from the JD and from like asking other people. Now, I'm not talking about big tech over here. Like I'm talking in general. Big tech is really different. Like might be different for this, but for other companies, right? For normal companies, if you are really exceptional at one thing, right? You have a really like higher likelihood of getting hired compared to if you are average at all of the skills, right? Um, for example, let's say I'll talk about the companies that I have worked at, and I've taken interviews in uh, at that company. Uh, I've taken like more than 50 interviews. I've shadowed uh, for the interviews as well. And the thing is, let's say if there were like let's say 2 or 3 rounds, um, one round might have been purely for SQL. One round might have been purely for Python, and one round for the manager. Okay, if and you would end up scoring that applicant out of 10 at the end of each interview, right? So if the applicant got maybe 9 out of 10, not 9 out of 10 in SQL, 5 out of 10 in Python, right? That guy has much higher likelihood of getting hired compared to 6 and 6 in both, right? Or 7 and 7 in both, right? So just figure out how can you stand out. Like end-to-end deployment might not be your thing. Maybe your thing is SQL, right? Figure out your strengths, capitalize on that. Uh, don't waste your time in compensating for your weaknesses, right? So don't try it. Like you have two choices. One is you become exceptional, like you're good at one thing and you spend your time being exceptional at that thing. Or the second choice is you are average at one thing and you spend your time at being a bit above average in that thing. And so choose the former, right? That's my perspective. And again, like as Vaishali said, like uh, take out specific slots of time for only that particular thing. No distractions. It's called deep work, right? Uh, do like I think if you are able to do 4 hours of deep work in a day, you will be exceptional in like very soon. Okay, I personally cannot do 4 hours. The max I've done till now is 2.5 to 3 hours. Uh, right, so make sure to maximize on the deep work hours more than the shallow work hours. It should be like no distraction, no phones, no music, uh, only that particular thing. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you do that, like initially, I used to spend 1 hour to solve 5 questions. But if you really have like phone out and you're not talking to anyone, then essentially you start solving more problems in 1 hour, right? So I started with 5, but I ended up with 7, 8. because I had no distraction, and by the time I also built knowledge when it comes to solving question and different approaches, different methods. So yeah, totally agree with you on that.
All right. So let's take the next question. There are two hands. So
Are we
one,
taking the questions from chat or the
let's
pre-recorded
take
questions?
from the raised hands first because they are
Okay,
more
okay, okay.
courageous. They are ready to speak
Hmm.
instead of just type. So
Okay.
let's. Okay, Aman was first, so I'll just ask him
Okay, yeah. Hey, Aman, hi.
Hey Vaishali, hi. Hi Aishit. So thank you both for conducting this session. My question was that I have been working in 3 4 companies as a data analyst. Okay, so in my current company also I'm working as a data analyst, and I have been giving out many of the insights actually descriptive, diagnostic, and then prescriptive. Okay, so many insights have been given till now. But then the thing is that currently I've been working with the mineral company actually into the natural resources, coal mining and all. Okay, so like over here, like whensoever I'm thinking of to get help of the machine learning in digitizing the mine site or something like that. Okay, then at that point of time, like I'm not able to think upon that what sort of machine learning could be helpful in my current workflow. Okay, so analyzing the data is a different thing. Okay, so but then coming for the automation thing. Okay, so in that point, like I'm really getting very much stuck. I have been taking help of the Google also, understanding, reading out the articles on different companies who are actually into the mine sites and who have actually digitalized their mine sites, automated their mine sites. Okay, machine learnings are there. So my question is that how to get to know about the machine learning, like how I would be able to help out in this term. Like I know this would be different, it's totally into the different part, but then if you can help me into it. So
Yeah, I think I would like to answer the question. Aishit, do you want to go first or should I go?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay, so for me, so essentially what we're trying to say is how do I learn the skills, right? So for me, because I come from what do I say, old school, for me it's very important that I learn it from the book. So you have to pick up one data science book and understand what is supervised, what is unsupervised, when to use which, right? So you don't need to directly jump into machine learning and then deploying models. Understand first, does the company really require that? Because what happens is you're spending all the time building model, but the company doesn't need it. They want only insights, and then they are able to make decision based on that. So I totally understand from your point that you want to learn it, but from the company standpoint, you also have to understand, you have to ask the question to your seniors that do you want this thing in your place? For example, when I was a data analyst in that particular company, I wanted to get into data science, but there was no business scope or requirement, right? So I had to then move teams in order to get into that, just because there was no scope in that particular team. So I think you should also do that. First, ask your team and the leaders, right? Do they really need that kind of solution, or they're okay with the solution that you're providing first? And second, if you want to learn, you can continue learning using different books. We can, provide you books which are like easy to read and easy to understand, doesn't involve a lot of technical concepts, or like high level that you can start with, and then you can get into more technical detailed books. Start that and then building projects. So again, I mentioned, right, Kaggle, you can have multiple projects and the data sets available that is from your industry. Again, I do not have a lot of information on the minerals and mining side of the industry, but I think if you just Google it, you should be able to get something for that particular industry. So yeah, start doing that, and then again reach out to people. For example, like us, right? So you have a one-to-one session with people, and then see what kind of learning that you can have and what kind of career that you want, right? So you can have a
yeah,
plan for
actually
yourself.
I
Yeah,
got the point I got the point. Like, I'm not asking about the about into the mineral side, but just in the question you have actually answered me in the beginning itself. The thing, which model should be used? Firstly, we should be knowing about the models and all, and then after that, which model should be
yeah.
used at the appropriate place. Okay, so
Hmm.
that thing has been the answer actually. Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay, added on one more question. Like I have asked that question in the chat also. Like, can you just advise like how, or can you just let us know that being from a government job back in India, then how did you got the opportunity? Totally like, though it's a great transition for you actually, from India to directly into the data science, and that too
Mm-hmm.
in the USA. So, like, how
Mm-hmm.
this transition happened? Like, if you can throw a light on this.
Yeah, sure. So I think what I'm understanding is you want to understand how people can move from India to
Correct,
US,
correct,
right?
correct,
When
correct.
it comes to, yeah. So there are multiple ways that you can move. One is you go on your master's degree and education for a bachelor's, right? So one is student visa. Right now, based on the market, I would not recommend you spending so much money like 100K, 200K, unless you have like financial freedom and unless you're financially steady and coming from a wealthy family, because it's a lot of pressure right now. I see students, it's very difficult to get into entry level because of the layoffs, and we have a lot of talent available who are experienced, right? So people are choosing experienced people over graduates. So I'm not saying that people are not able to get it. I have seen so many people who are right out of college and have joined Microsoft, have joined Amazon. So people are joining it, but the percentage is little less now. So I would not recommend using that. Another route is joining a consultancy. So there are a lot of consultancy like Accenture, right? So they do provide you on-site opportunities where you can go to your client location. There are people who are into Europe and in USA, who have started with Accenture in India, and then they have moved there. So I'm just giving one example. There are a lot of companies who are doing consultancies, and then you have an opportunity to move out, and then at the end you can just get an full-time offer from your client basically for that particular location. So you can move it like that. And the third way is join one particular company and then ask for work visa or work sponsorship. For example, initially Amazon used to offer that. I'm not sure if they offer it now, but if you have spent a year in a particular company, and if they have like worldwide offices available, and if you can just reach out to people and then say, hey, I'm interested in your team and this is my skill, would you like to sponsor me? So then that entire sponsorship process start. Again, it's a trick. The one thing in this thing is that before any company sponsors you from India, they have to see if that kind of skill is already available in that particular market or not. So for example, if a team has to hire people from India versus US, they have to justify why this particular person is so skilled and experienced that they are not able to find someone like that in USA. So it's a bit of complicated process, but yeah, these are the three things that I would say you can think about. And if you do your research, right, there are a lot of websites available on Google where you can just directly apply for the company who are hiring for different countries. So that's also there. Last option is, again, there are certain companies, I don't remember the name now, but you can stay in India and work on a different country's payroll. So I forgot one particular company is based out of Delhi. They recruit developers from India. You work from home and then you get paid in either USA or pound. So you don't need to, I mean, moving to a different country is not just a solution. You just have to find a right place for yourself. So there are like 4 to 5 ways that you can, earn in different currencies than in Indian rupees. I hope that
Yeah,
answers your question. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, Vaishali. Thanks a lot.
All right. So next in the line is Siddharth.
Hello, Aishit. Hello, Vaishali.
Hi, Siddharth. Hi.
So my question was, you suggested that there was your answer. You said that enter into startup rather than other big companies, big tech companies. So it was because of there is the bar is low for the job, or was it because we will get multiple kinds of experience there, because startup do things at a different level and the big tech do at different level. Big tech have their multiple people to do
Mm.
that kind of thing, and different uh, they have very big teams and very mature people. But at startup they have less teams, so you have more opportunity to go into the uh, nuances, nits and grits of the project and how it affects the businesses. You can see it firsthand. So what was your logic behind that?
Yeah. So when it comes to startup, right, even if you're joining, say, as an analyst or engineer, you're doing all the work. So your work is not defined. You are not like your role is not defined, right? And that's why when you're building like end to end, it's really helpful. Versus big tech, yes, I mean, if you build end to end, then it's going to be helpful everywhere, startup and big tech. Just the interview process, the hiring process, and the requirement is different, right? So at startup, you will be asked to do multiple things. For example, I was a data analyst or data scientist, but I was also doing streamlining databases and I was doing bit of BI work, which is not like usual part of my work as a data scientist. But I would do it because it was like a medium-sized company, right? Likewise, in big tech, you will have a set of requirement in place that you will focus, and the set of business problems that you have to solve during that time frame, and then you brainstorm, you ask, for different things, you provide your ideas, and then you get into different things. So it totally depends. There is always a scope for everything, but I would say with big tech, with my experience is, you have a set of things. With team limited, they only focus on one particular thing, that the product that they're working on. What's a startup will have like, everything. So you will be like working on analytics, you will also do a bit of engineering here and there. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. So when you're building like end-to-end projects, it's just helpful when it comes to like startup versus big tech. Yeah.
Okay.
Aishit, do you want to add
Question
something on that?
I mean, just
on.
find something to stand out at. Right? So
Yeah.
whatever you can stand out at, do that.
Okay, agreeable. Yeah, there was another question. I think Pranav already asked that we should focus more on the business side or the tax side. I think you have already answered that to understand business first, then understand the problem, then decide what tech is solving that. Apart from that, I think I forgot. Let me come back.
Do you want to ask how do I understand what kind of business that they are doing?
Yeah, on a deeper level, yes, because from the website we can understand a few things, but some of
Hmm.
the companies have different website, and the thing is, some of the things they don't even show publicly.
Hmm.
There are things behind that as well, so they
Hmm.
don't exactly show it there. We have
Hmm.
to actually talk to the people to understand
Hmm.
what they are actually doing. So,
Hmm.
how to get that?
Yeah, yeah, I'll tell you. So yeah, one thing is you already know that you talk to people to understand what actually they are doing. Another thing is if you look at the financial, it's pretty accurate. Uh, Given that the company is publishing the financial on the regular basis. So if you look at that, you will understand what are the current strategies and how much they have achieved so far. So they will mention about their profit loss and the reasons in detail. Now I totally understand when you're starting out, reading financial is very difficult. But now because of AI, we have different tools like Notebook LM, where you can put up a couple of PDFs. So you can like put up multiple quarterly reports, and then you can ask questions like, what is the challenge that this particular company is facing? And I think that's how you understand it if you don't want to like get into so much into reading financials. But I would definitely suggest that you read financials to understand that particular business first. Another thing is understand that particular company and then look for the competitors, right? And then you'll have a better view on what kind of actual business that they are solving, and then what kind of services and the products that other people are having, to have like a high level view, right? So that say one company is good at this particular thing but other would be good at different thing, right? So you will have a high level view of, okay, these are the questions that this particular industry is facing, and they're trying to solve on so and so thing. So you will have like a high level understanding of at least what kind of business that they're doing and what kind of problem that they're facing. If you don't get to meet someone from a particular company, then I think that would be your go-to thing.
I'll share my perspective as well. Like 100% agree with Vaishali. Uh, One is like, again, assume that if you're investing in a stock, right? You've been investing your money, but when you're getting a job in a company, you're investing your time in that company, right? So again, you have to be an equity analyst, right? Uh, Read about that domain. Okay. Again, as Vaishali said, read the annual reports. Read about the sector reports. A lot of there are some all the AMCs, right? All the fund houses, they release sector reports of all the sector, right, which they are investing in. Uh, there's also something called initiation report, where when a sector is now entering in, where a fund house is entering into a sector, right? They do a comprehensive analysis of that sector, all the companies in it, who all are the players, what is the market share, how do they make money, basically, right? That is a very detailed report. If you understand that report, you understand the whole domain. Okay, that is one. Another way is to just cold message people on LinkedIn from that domain or that company. Uh, Write a nice message so that they agree for a 10-minute phone call, right? That is another way. Third way is reading books. When I joined IDFC First Bank, they gifted me this book. It's called Bank 4.0. If you read this book, it will tell you like all about banking sector, right? So these are the ways that you can know about the business.
Wow, that was a very good answer. Ashit, my another question was pointed at you because you said that we have to differentiate. But the thing is, I come from a non-tech background. I had a long career gap, and I've done different kind of things like sales and other stuff. Now I'm doing my masters in big data analytics right now. I'm a first year student of PGDM right now, and how, because I don't have that advantage of that I have done statistics and or programming ever in my life. This is the first time I'm doing Python, SQL, and Power BI. I've done some Excel previously, but not to this extent. So how, the thing you said that you, if you are good at one thing, then you should focus on that, but I'm good at nothing when I see
Mhm.
that. But yeah, when I come from the sales background, I understand what kind of customer they deal with, what kind of I can do that. From the sales perspective, I understand somewhat that how a company makes some money, and it is a interest. It is my curiosity when I see a company. I go beyond that. That how does company is making money? How is the cash is flowing inside? So, what do you suggest?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I can totally relate to it because I'm also from non-tech, right? So what I would suggest is don't focus on technical if you're just starting out like that. What you will do is read statistics basic, right? So you have to first have your basics clear, and then you move to data science. So I understand you're doing your masters, but you have to have your basics clear to understand the data science method. So when it comes to statistics, right, you have to understand what is the descriptive analysis, hypothesis testing, different distributions, and it will not happen overnight. You have to put lot of efforts. So if you're just starting out like that, you have to put like at least 4 to 5 months only into statistics and not anything. And apart from that, while you are reading about stats concept, right, try to learn Excel. And that's how I started, right? I did Excel in my masters, and I have understand like I used to do all the exercises on how to generate insights. So I started it with how to generate insights on Excel. So it's basically nothing but how to do pivoting, how to do top, how to look at the trends and the bars, right? So once you have like data analytics experience in Excel, once you build charts in Excel and then understand how you can relate to it and how you can interpret it, then you will have some sort of confidence that okay, now I understand data analytics, right? So SQL, Python, etc. is just the tools to solve problems. But to solve problem, you can use like anything, and that's how I started. But again, to gain experience in Excel is not easy. You have to constantly do multiple things. So there are like playlists available on YouTube. You can just go and check out those playlists. I can later on also mention some of the good YouTube channels who have like detailed data analytics methods and then data set and everything readily available. You can just follow the instructor and then see how they are using it, right? So min, max, median, charts, trends. Start with the basics, learn Excel, and then see how you can generate insights. So I would say the recommend like first thing, just understand how to generate insights with raw data. That would be your first exercise. And once you do it like multiple times, and by the time you're good with statistics, then you move to like different tools, and then you go into like SQL and all that. But like first 6 to 8 months, just focus on like learning Excel. On Excel, you can build like forecasting model using linear. If you add data analytics tool pack, you can also do hypothesis testing, etc. on Excel as well. So there are a lot of things available in Excel that you can do. Just the limitation is that it doesn't support big data. So for just start with small data and Excel, and I think that would be your good way to start. And then I think that would be helpful to gain confidence.
Just
I
one
hope that
more.
answers your question. Yeah.
Yeah, it answered all of it from front to back. I was just asking, I'm reading this one book. It is Statistics for Management by Richard Levin and David S. Rubin. I think it is a good one. Do you suggest that?
Okay, so it focuses a lot on management. It doesn't have analytical aspect to it. So I think it will have quality control, etc., which I'm not sure which industry you want to go to, but I can recommend you multiple books, free books, right, to start with, which has like basic statistical concept if you want to get
Is
into
Ken Black
analytics.
is a good book?
Yes, Ken Beck is a good book. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll
sure,
give
sure.
my perspective as
Another
well.
book is Gupta Kapoor, Mathematical Statistics by Gupta Kapoor. So that's also a good book. So if you're reading Ken Black, you can also read Gupta Kapoor side by side. Like finish one and then start another.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashit, and thank you,
I'll
Vaishali.
give my perspective on the previous question as well. Uh, the question was, if you're not good at anything, where do you start? Right. Again, like the first thing to keep in mind always is like you can't expect to be valued somewhere if you're not good at it, right? So like it's like saying, uh, I want to become a doctor, but I'm not good at it. How do I become a good doctor? Like you can't. But there is a place to start, right? Um, one place to start is figure out your strengths. Like right now, it might seem like you don't have any strengths, but go and talk to a fresher who has done a data science degree or who has done a computer science degree or any degree who's getting into a data science job, maybe from college placements. Just talk to that person. You will actually find out what your strengths are, right? So you'll actually find out that that fresher doesn't know anything about any domain. Okay, uh, you will find out if that person, like, I'm just making a conjecture, right? Not saying that all freshers are like that, but you'll probably find out that if that fresher was given maybe like you're from sales domain, right? So if they were given a sales data set, right, they wouldn't make any sense out of it, right? So
Yeah.
but you would, right? Start from there, and obviously like you have to build your expertise, or you have to stand out in the technical domain as well, right? Otherwise you shouldn't be in the domain itself, right? So if you don't want to do that, so but start from there, start from business understanding, start small. When I say start small, it means just go and cold message some small startup founder on LinkedIn. Every startup could use a data analyst, right? And every small startup can't afford an expensive data analyst. They very happily start with you, right? Since you have the knowledge, right? The domain knowledge, and since you are very keen on learning, right? Startup founders look for the potential, right? Rather than what you are right now. So start from there. Don't target anything big, right? Uh, if you start from there, you get a data analyst tag, right? You can write it on LinkedIn. As soon as you write that, it becomes your brand. and it makes your next job much more easier, right? Yeah.
Absolutely love this answer, Aishit. So yes, if you're from sales background, so I think it's easier for you to understand, sales data. So you can build like forecasting using linear regression on sales data. You can also see, you can have a calculated fill and then understand how revenue and profit, varies from time to time based on the sales. Like sales increases, but revenue decreases. Why? Here is the reason. So I think this is all data analytics work, and you can start with sales data, I think, on Excel. And yeah, I totally agree with Aisha. It's a great answer. That any founder would really need a salesperson and also a data person. So yeah, just drop a message and then get things going.
All right. So next is Akanksha.
Hey, hello, hi. Am I
Hi.
audible?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, hello. So I had a couple of questions. I would ask the first one that I see is more important to me right now. So I'm trying to switch, and I've been in the same organization as a data scientist for 2, 3 years now. So, and the organization I am is a startup, kind of a well-funded one. So there are a lot of things I'm doing, starting from analysis, models, and whatnot. So there are so many things that not everything fits into the resume. So my
Mm.
question would be, let's say I have currently have two models. One is doing very well, has a very good business impact, 40 crores of business had been done and whatnot. The other one, a lot of grunt work has been put in, but that never saw light of day. So if just for business impact, if I put that one, but I know more about the other one. So what should I do? Should I keep both? And also other ad hoc activities I do, like conversion rate you mentioned. That is something we're literally doing right now, but I didn't put in the resume because that is something I didn't think would bring much value to my resume. So what do you think are the points that should be kept and should not be?
Aisha, do you want to take that one or should I go first?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So it again depends when you try to move, right? To which company that you want to go to. For example, if I'm giving like high level example because I am not thinking of anything else right now. So say if I'm doing a data team or like data management team at Microsoft, I will put my projects accordingly, right? So if I'm joining a planning team, I will put the planning project first. So it totally depends on which company that you're interviewing at, and then you put that particular role project first. Another thing is I said that you try to have one page resume. So if the conversion rate, even though it's not big, right? If you say if you improve conversion rate by 1%, it's still good enough impact to showcase in resume because you do not have other impactful projects in place, right? So if that's the reason, I think you can just start with improve conversion rate for so and so due to so and so. So I think you can put it like that. So definitely you can put it if you are not, going to put other experiences on the resume.
So you're suggesting having literally having multiple resumes for different kind of companies.
In current situation, yes, that's what worked for me. For different roles, not companies. So, right, so you segregate roles. So, for example, you have one role which is focusing only on planning. You have a different role which is only focusing on product side. You have third role which is only focusing on experimentation. So, those kind of roles, I have like one resume, and then I will look at the job description, and then I'll choose my resume. Maybe 2 to 3 resume would be beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
But
Makes
yeah,
sense.
its rating is very important because recruiters, they when they read it, they definitely like look for that thing first. So it's easier for them to pick you versus other people. Yeah.
Okay. Also, why the thing is, key currently applying is one thing, but as you said, like thousands of applications are there, so they get lost. So my way of doing things is I update my Naukri regularly, so I get through Naukri. So on Naukri, I can have only one resume. So this point of which points to pick is kind of important because I am getting calls and they are relevant to my role, but I'm just saying in a way somehow improve a resume, get more calls, so have better options.
Hmm. Yeah, so when you apply, right, there is an option for you to update your resume when you are doing the application process. So you can have one started resume on your Naukri profile, but when you apply, you have the option to not choose from your profile and then upload a different one. So I think that's one thing that you can do. Another thing that you can do is again build a network. connect with people, right? If you don't want to get through recruiter around, you can directly reach out to hiring manager on LinkedIn and say, hey, this is my resume, which is relevant and why you should hire me. So I think that would also work in this case.
Hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Vaishali. Ashit, would you like to say something also?
Um, One is do some personal projects, okay,
Hmm.
along with the company projects, like have another section in your resume for personal projects. So if you think your company project is not that uh, impactful, have a personal project and write the expected impact of that personal project. Okay, so for example, let's say you build a model, or let's say you build an app and assume that a big company uses this app in place of some other service, right? So let's take a simple example. You build an OCR system, okay, very simple OCR system, um, and assume that maybe a big company uses AWS OCR, right? The what's the service called? AWS Textract.
Hmm.
Okay, check out the cost of using Textract. Okay, maybe it is per thousand pages it will be maybe $1. I'm not sure, right?
Hmm.
Check that cost and check the cost of running your system, right? Try to get that cost like lower than that. Okay, and like just write an expected impact of like this much dollars per year. Like assume a number that this company uses 1,000 pages of OCR per day. In 365 days, it will be using 3,65,000 pages per day, uh, per year, and get that cost, and then calculate your own cost, your model's cost, and write that difference, right? You are saving, like expected to save so many millions of dollars per year, right? That is
Hmm.
one way to like showcase a possible impact, right?
Hmm.
But again, also like figure out better ways to write your company purpose. So the same project can be written in multiple ways. One way can be very like might seem very impactful, but another way might seem very less impactful. So do these things, and yeah, so that is a start.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was very helpful. I will incorporate those. I have a personal project, but I'm not rating impact. Just that this is the ye thingy accuracy. This is what, and that's all. Okay. And the second question would be, about the interview tips bit you all said, ki I should brush up and do this and that. But sometimes there are things but before the interview, maybe stress or whatever just slips your mind. Let's say my friend forgot ROC curve. I the other day forgot difference between R square and adjusted R square. So like, do you all have some kind of resource which you all consider to be the Bible, and say, ki, okay, so this is something I can use, a blog maybe that I can read that will help me brush up. A curated list even helps. Any such resource would be helpful if you all have something on the top of your mind.
Yeah. So I have, I used to feel the same thing, and what I have done is I have created document and I have written all concepts with my graduation and master's notes, right? And then I have published it in the form of long form content. So I can share that with you
Oh,
and with
that's good.
everyone, right? And second thing is do mock rounds. So the reason that you forget is because not because you don't know it, but you just forgot the start of it. So when you do mock round and you do mock round multiple time, it just becomes like second thing in your nature, right? You're just able to express it very easily and confidently because we have already expressed it to like 3-4 times earlier. So I would highly recommend doing mock rounds and then starting with like basic questions like this, like what does point 0.8 p value means. Start with this kind of basic question, and I think that would be really helpful. Not memorizing it, but just be it into your system and then have a free flow when you're interviewing and be confident at it. Aisha, do you want to say something on this?
Yeah, I agree about the mock interviews. Once you do enough mock interviews, you like become habituated to like bullshitting, right? Like right now I'm bullshitting, right? So I've done this so many times. I can do this very casually. Do the same with interviews.
Okay. Thank you so much. It was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Akansha. So next is Devyani.
Hey Vaishali. Hi.
Hi.
So I have a different sets of questions. So I would like to first introduce like my current background. So currently I am a software engineer at a financial firm in USA, but I want to move back to India. So uh, I've been working for some 3 years now in the software industry, and it's like my long time aspiration has been to be a data scientist because I completed my like I hold a data science degree, MS in data science, but there has been a 3 year gap between that and then currently while I'm doing the job, uh, I haven't been actively working towards data science. So I'm facing challenges in managing time. Currently, like I'm in under a mentorship with Aishit. So the challenge is that like maintaining the confidence during the work pressure. Plus, there's a lot of layoffs going on these days here, and the competition in India is cutthroat. So I see the difference that okay, one person gets laid off here and 3 people get hired in India. So with that competition in mind in the tech industry and then the complexity of planning the transition from USA to India, all those things I wanted to like learn if you can give me some advice or some actionable steps to get there to build the confidence to transition despite having a non-linear career transition. Then the industry shift completely. It'll be like I'll have to upskill myself and then position myself to be a data scientist. And then I also want the transition to be smooth from USA to India, considering like I the only advantage I hold is a degree in data science.
Yeah.
So
So 2 questions, and it's a very loaded question. So let me, do one by one. So one thing is you want to transition, right? So unless you get laid off, I totally understand that there's a pressure, but what you can do is you can build skills, right? And you already have a degree, you already have a master's in place, right? So you can just add few projects in it, and please not leave unless you get laid off and you don't have any opportunity, right? So people put a lot of efforts, and I'm sure you would have put a lot of efforts to come down here, and then moving there and then facing another competition would be like the same thing, right? I don't think that it would be very different from what we are facing currently. Maybe even higher because the population is higher there, but I don't know. But what I'm saying is on the high level it would be the same because competition is everywhere, right? Here it's layoff, they are also laying off people. So what I would suggest is not focusing on data science, but look for companies who are sponsoring and then try to get as a data analyst, right? Another thing is uh, data analyst and product data science. So in product data science, you don't have to showcase a lot of details and then all the supervised, unsupervised things, right? You have to be good at statistics, experimentation, like high level, and then product sense, like clustering and time series and all that. So if you look at the different roles at Amazon, right, there are like roles which are like business analysts, program managers. So just start there if you want to transition, because transitioning directly into data scientist would be very different and very difficult given the current state uh, in both the countries, right? So good thing is you already have experience, right? So you already know tech, given you are an engineer. So you don't have to brush up a lot on tech. The only thing that you have to focus on is statistics and then building projects on those lines. So I would say like, have a plan like 1 month focusing on basic of statistics, like second month where you're building a project using that knowledge. So I think that would be like a better way to go rather than, getting into the high level technical data scientist. You can like start with either data analyst or product data scientist. Again, with product data scientists, you have like, different companies like Google has product analyst role. Google has data scientist for product role. Likewise, Meta, they have like, data scientist for product role. They do not go into so much model deployment, but it's like how to improve so and so, right? So it's not like very technical. They will ask you SQL question, statistics question, and experimentation question. So you don't need to like invest so much time into learning machine learning, for those kind of data science role. So I would suggest like, just yeah, don't give up so easily and then move back uh, until unless you don't have any other option, and then you have to, go back. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, considering the layoffs, I might be impacted.
Okay.
My manager has been transparent about it, so that's one good thing. But if they be able to open a role in India for me, that is not guaranteed. That's why I
Hmm.
had this dilemma of, how to go forward with this.
Yeah, so if you know that you're going to be impacted, then again, there are times when you reach out to people on LinkedIn and say that, you put, so you don't know that you are already impacted, but there's a potential risk, right? People are happy to help you in that situation as well, right? And again, in that case, what you can do is you don't have then so much time in for doing a preparation. And right now that you have risk, try to spend more time in preparation, because there is a potential risk, right? So if you're spending like 8 hours at work, try to do it like 6 hours, and then spend more time on your preparation. And try to get into like data analyst and product kind of a role. And it's not that difficult, just you have to brush up on a few things, right? So like window functions, joins, data, date related questions. So yeah, just practice that, and it's settled. It's difficult given the situation right now, but yeah, please don't give up so quickly, I would say.
Sure. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And Aishit, would you like to add something?
So I know you personally, so yeah, nothing has changed from my view. So yeah, we'll talk and we'll talk. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Next is home. Hi, home.
Hello. Yeah,
Hi.
hi, Vaishali, hi, Aishit. Like myself, Ashraf. Like I'm having 3 year of experience in as a front end developer. Like I want to switch my career as a data scientist. So I'm preparing like ML and statistics, like basic AI. And so I'm getting interview call. Like, but due to project issue, I'm not getting to like convert to offer letter. So yeah,
Mm.
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. So again, my answer would be the same, right? Do not focus on the data science role, because there are so many people with experience who are good fit for that. So if you're starting out, if you don't have knowledge, start with the data analyst role and then build your projects, read books, and then gain experience and skills while you're a data analyst. So when you're a data analyst, you understand the business, right? You understand why generating insights is helpful, how it will impact long term, and then you can build your models accordingly. So I would say not focus only on data scientists, but like start with data analyst first.
Oh, okay, got it. Yes.
All right. So I think the speakers are done. We can pick. Uh, do you have maybe 10 minutes? If
Yeah, sure.
okay, then we can pick the chat questions.
Mhm.
I'll have to like show like cherry pick
Yeah,
these.
I'm also going to the chat question. I think we have already answered Siddharth's question. The next is Abhishek. Yeah, the question is, what are you suggesting about solving or approaching any business problem before applying any algorithm? What do you think the interviewer is expecting from you? So interview is expecting to see what kind of skills that you have and if you are a good fit or not, right? So for example, if I am into product experimentation team, I will only look for experimentation related skills and not like model deployment skills. So it totally depends on the particular role that you are doing, that you are applying. And second is, how do you solve business problem before applying algorithm, right? So I think we have already, like the entire session today was all about how to get business context before building projects. So yes, please do the due diligence, and I think we have already answered that properly during the session. But yeah, Ashit, feel free to add few things on that question.
Yeah, nothing on that. But there's an interesting question by Rakshit. Is the ATS score a real thing? ATS score.
ATS score. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, I was able to directly, get in touch with skip of the hiring manager. So I directly reach out to like a director level, and then ask if they can interview me. So for me, ATS was not an issue because I went like top to bottom. But yeah, in some cases ATS is a thing. For example, other companies that I have interviewed previously, I think there are other tools available in the market where you can see the ATS score, but it again varies from company to company. You have to try and test, right? So say if I'm interviewing and if I'm applying for multiple position, I'm constantly getting rejected, then my resume is, I mean, it's not good enough. Then I have to update. So maybe in some companies you will get through it, and then in some company you will continuously get rejected, and then you have to figure out it why. So the resume is the only thing, and then again reaching out to people would help, because right now everybody is applying, like 1,000 applications for one opening. So yeah, if you have to stand out, just you have to reach out to people and learn from it.
Got it.
Aishit, do you want to add something?
Oh, I don't have like that experience as well. Like, so I think data scientists are shielded from this thing in terms of hiring as well. Even if you are hiring for your team, the HR would do all this ATS and stuff, right? You would have to ask the HR for this. I think that's it.
Yeah. Just making sure that we are not missing out on anything. I think we have covered Aman's question, Divyani's question. Okay, there is another question from Anurag. He says, how does your team at Amazon discover talent? Do you or team use platforms like Twitter, GitHub? So I think let me give you a broader answer, not just specific to Amazon, be it any company, right? There are multiple ways that they discover talent. One is just direct hiring process, and then another one is they sponsor hackathons. So with hackathons, you either win the prizes, but if you're really good at what you do, they also give you an interview ready after you are done with the hackathon, if they have a requirement for that team, right? So that's another way that people do it and different companies do it. I think Google also has direct hiring thing, which is not ready, people are not aware of it, which is if you are coding a lot online and you are asking a lot of coding question online, one day you will have a coding question coming from Google directly, and then once you solve that problem entirely, then they will like directly lead you to a hiring manager, and then you are in it. So I know people who have not done graduation, who were just solving problems online during their school, and they got directly into Google as a software engineer without having a degree. But that's like a once in, like, that's a rare case where your technical skills is like top notch, and then you don't need to like go through direct, like the normal route that people usually go to. So yes, direct hiring process is one thing. Second is hackathons, and third is just this kind of things where you discover new things. People are hiring. Fourth is also contractual position. So like a lot of time you have like contractual positions, and then there is a potential opportunity to convert it to full time. Though you have to go through the loop round, which is like the same as any external interview, but you have like no insights as a contractor or as a vendor. So I think that's also one thing that people hire as here. Aishit, do you want to add something on that?
No. Pranav wanted to add something on ATS.
Recently, I attended one webinar by Google Recruiter. So she told about ATS that ATS is a myth. I mean, they generally don't do ATS screening. Even if they have like 10,000 or some 20,000 resumes. So what they do is generally they have bit of assistance. So each assistant will be given, like, let's say 500 or 1000 resume. So they manually go through each resume and figure out is the candidate is suitable for this role or not. So based on it, so those resumes will be picked up, and then the further rounds will go. So she told that don't believe in ATS. So keep your resume authentic and make it more with action and power work, and also make sure what your work rather than your teamwork. So it's important to add your impact over a team's impact.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing, that's a very good insight. So thank you for, highlighting that. Google is a big company, so they can afford to have that kind of process in place, right? Versus if you think about a medium-sized company where they have, they have to do cost optimization, maybe they utilize ATS and other tools available in the market. So whatever you say is true for Google, but may or may not be applicable to all the companies. And when you're starting out, you have to make sure that, you are up to date and you are eligible for all the companies, at least to get an interview first. So yeah, that's I would say, take that advice, but like it's only specific for that particular company, only. Yeah. Actually, do you want to add something on it?
Yeah, so I think even if that is true for Google, I'm not sure if that's true, but even if it's true for Google, I think for smaller companies, it would not be true. Like the kind of ATS can be different, right? So there will be some form of keyword matching, right? Because otherwise it is not humanly possible. No one is going to check like 10,000 resumes for non-Google companies, right? So there will be some sort of automation already being done. Nowadays, it can be like AI integrated ATS, where you would not just do a brute force keyword match. You could even like give the job description and give the resume and ask the AI to give a score, right? Or maybe rate the candidate on the basis of the JD. That is most likely being done right now.
Okay.
One
Yeah.
more thing is like keep your resume like tech parsable, which means if you read your PDF using code, it should actually give out valid sentences. It should not give out gibberish, right? So don't use graphics or colors in that because it messes it up.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a question from Anurag and on Amazon Conduct hackathons, and I think Abhishek has already answered that. So let's go to the next question, given that we're already, running out of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have observed that when I start solving lead code, the recruiters start reaching out on LinkedIn. Is that the real thing? We get traction through our lead code status or just coincident? I'm not sure, but if you start posting content, that's what I have observed, that, if I put out content on LinkedIn, I get traction. And then again, if I, if I discuss something with a recruiter, then another recruiter reaches out to me. So maybe they are tracking few things, but I'm not sure if it's particularly with lead code. Yes, if you put up content on LinkedIn, then you do get attraction, and that's what I have observed so far. But I'm not sure with lead code. Aishit, do you have anything to say
We'll
about
have to do an A/B test on this.
what?
We'll have to do an A/B test on this.
Yeah. 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 Yes, I think we are done with the questions. Anything else to wind up, Aishit?
Yeah, I think the last thing is resources. So what we can do is like you can send me all the resources that you've talked about, and I can put that in on the video description and share with the community and share it over mail as well, whoever registered for this. And yeah, and thanks a lot for doing this. I think it's been about 2 hours that we are standing here. Okay, you are sitting, but so yeah, I think people will be really grateful, and including me, really great insights, and yeah, I think people would like to see you again if you are open to do it. And yeah, that's it. I'll also send our both LinkedIn links on the chat if people want to connect. And feel free to book calls with Vaishali over TopMate. You are doing TopMate, right?
I used to do it. I don't do it now, but like feel
Okay.
free to drop me a message.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's something urgent, I'm happy to answer. Yeah, and thanks Aishit for hosting this. Thanks everyone for participating. I will definitely send out all the resources. I'll send out all the free PDFs and free books. I'll also send out all the free resources that you can, utilize to build projects. And I also have a document on 10 plus projects that you can go through and then see if you want to, add it in your resume. So yeah, we have everything ready. We'll just send it across to you guys. All the free
All right.
resources. Yeah.
Thanks a lot,
Cool.
Vaishali, and thanks a lot everyone for joining.
Thank you,
We'll
everyone.
we'll
Thanks.
see
Thanks,
you
Aishit. Feel free to
guys
reach
soon.
out. Yeah.